Remo,
Joseph.
I see a very fat book here.
Thank God only the book is fat.
Yeah, but it's filled with pages, and it looks like you filled those pages with your adventures.
I did, yes. Whatever I could remember, whatever I was able to fit into those covers.
How long did it take you to write?
I think I started 9 years before I completed it, and I wrote the first 3 chapters. And I started the 4th one, and then I got busy with something and told myself, well, I'll carry this on for a while, and that little while turned into 9 years. And then once I restarted work on it, I decided I'm not going to stop until I finish. And then I think I took a year to complete the whole book, a year and a half maybe. And then the rest of the year, and then another year went by with the editing and the publishing and getting the book together and stuff like that with HarperCollins. So that's how long it took me. I would say a total of 2 years of my work.
Oh, that's a long period. Tell me, when you're working with music, do you spend this kind of time on your songs as well?
Not at all, because a song, can take a maximum of about a week to record. To compose, you never know.
Yeah, it
can come in a minute, in a day, and sometimes you have an idea, but it just doesn't complete a song until years later. It's there in the back of your mind. Luckily, you don't forget it if it's important enough. Like Bombay City. Bombay City. When I wrote Bombay City, our common friends, Noel Gordon, Roger Drago, and I and some friends were going out for dinner. And I don't know why this bomb, Bombay, you're just an atom bomb, Bat Bay. That line just came to my mind. Tell me what I gotta say. And it was years before I actually completed that song. So I never know with completing a song, but well, I worked for 3 years on an album which was an opera about the life and work of Mother Teresa. So that did take about as long as the book.
Actually, do tell us about this, because number one, we don't have opera written in India.
No.
You've got a fantastic subject, Mother Teresa.
Yes.
But then, if you really look at Western opera, all the women in those operas, there's always tragedy around them.
That's true.
And so now you've got a subject that's an interesting subject. Will you tell us a little about how you thought about that subject and how you developed that subject?
Well, actually, the thought to write just one song about Mother Teresa came when I met her. I was lucky enough to meet her at the time when I was stuck in Calcutta. And I went to visit her home, and as soon as she held my hand in hers, I felt something, Maybe it was just psychological or whatever, and this idea came to me that I would like to compose a song about you. That's what I told her. And I told her that all the royalty from that song, I would like to donate it as my little contribution towards her work. And she said, great, my son, do it with love. As though there's anything else I could have done it with, And on the next day, as I was sitting on my flight back home to Goa, Calcutta to Goa is a pretty long flight with Calcutta to Bombay, and then waiting in Bombay, and then Bombay to Goa. It was at that time. And I wrote 4 songs during that flight. And I'd never written more than 1 song in a day, forget 4. And once again, I was going to record it, but I couldn't find the right singers in Goa. Singers with experience in putting forth a theatrical kind of feeling into the song, because they were to be sung by different characters. One song by the Pope, one song by Mother Teresa herself, one by the Mother Superior of the convent, and the 4th one by a character whom I invented. I just called him the slum bum. And I couldn't find the right singers in Goa. And I told myself I'll do this later when I come across the right singers, or when my friends from Bombay, from the theatre world, will do it for me. And before I knew it, 27 years went by. In the meanwhile, Mother Teresa died. And 27 years later, when I moved to Portugal and I was living there half time, suddenly the thought struck me, hey, now's a good time to complete those 4 songs, I'm going to re-record them. And I started to re-record the first song. And I don't know what happened on the morning when I finished, the morning after I finished re-recording the first song, I had an idea for yet another song which continued with the story. These 4 songs were quite, disjointed, the original songs I wrote. But they told the whole story kind of together. And I had an idea for the 3rd song when I finished the 2nd one, and the 4th song when I finished the 3rd one. And I didn't know where it was all coming from, but as soon as I finished one, the next morning I was in the shower and I would come out from the shower with an idea for a lyric, for a melody, and I would have breakfast and start to work on that. And before I knew it, it turned into a story in music, into a linear story, from the time that she told her parents, when she broke the news to her parents that she wanted to become a nun, until the time when she died. And I got lost in my answer. I made it too long, I'm sorry. So I forgot your question.
No, it's a fantastic story because here you've got an opera, which is, a classical form of writing. You've got a subject like Mother Teresa. And now, where is it now? Where is it now?
It's completed. It's completed. And just when I completed it, and I started looking for a producer to put it up on stage, or a record company who would be interested in releasing it worldwide, I came to Goa first to take a break after having worked on it for 3 years. And the pandemic broke out.
Yeah, that stopped everything.
So that stopped all my plans to try and find somebody interested enough to launch it. But that also imprisoned me at home in Goa, in my village in Goa. And I said, hey, if I'm going to be locked in, why not also carry on with my other project which has been pending for 9 years, and that was the book. And just as I resumed work on the opera, and I told myself, no, I'm not going to stop until I complete it, I did the same with the book. I told myself, now I'm not going to stop until I complete it. And that's what I did.
So the COVID pandemic worked good for you?
It worked good for me.
Absolutely.
Really worked good for me. And I think for a lot of creative artists, it worked really well.
I think you guys should buy the book and read the book because it's an amazing story that links our own experiences within the world of a star. In the book, Remo, you begin with the story of your early life, your parents. And there's this extraordinary relationship you have with your father. Or let's say, a relationship your father had with you, where there you are, a little kid, and he buys you a mouth organ, harmonica. And you're probably quite happy with it. The next moment, you're unhappy with it. And you don't know why, and he doesn't know why, but you can't get the notes that you want. And curiously, you were trying to play the Blue Tango,
Blue Tango, yes.
And I was a bit amused because when I was a kid, the Blue Tango was also my favorite too. Don't ask me why, but it just was there in my head for everything. So, and then it turns out that his father immediately sensed what was wrong. He couldn't get the notes and took him to a store and got him a harmonica where you could play the half tones as well. Will you tell us about that? Because I thought that was a lovely story.
Yeah, like you said. Before that, may I just take a minute, please, and talk to you directly, to the people here directly?
That would be lovely.
I'm a performer, as you know, I'm a musician. And normally when I'm on stage, I'm like communicating directly with the audience. And I don't know how you all feel I'm feeling strange, like sitting here and you are sitting there, but all I'm doing is communicating with this man next to me. I don't know how that feels, I'm just wondering. Anyway, my father bought me that mouth organ, and he went to work the next day, and he came back from work, and my mother told him, that I was sitting under the bed and crying. You don't mind if I also talk to them?
Do that.
I was sitting under the bed and crying, and she didn't know why. She wasn't as musically savvy as my father was. My father came from the musical side of the family. And my father asked me why, and I told him that I couldn't get a particular note. And he asked me which note. Oh no, the Blue Tango has this introduction which goes so I could not get the I couldn't get so I could not get that note in between, and I was crying because I couldn't understand why I could not get it. So my father got very excited when he came to know that, and he told me, get ready, we're going out shopping for a better harmonica. And we went out to the music shop, and he got me a mouth organ with a button where you could get the and that was the story with the mouth organ.
No, it was quite amazing because here you have a father so sensitive to a small little detail, and he was able to solve it. And then this sensitivity occurs right through his lifetime, if you think of it.
My mother was no less, sensitive, and we were great friends. I think I know it's very fashionable now to be friends with your children and friends with your parents, but when I say friends, I mean we remained in touch. My parents and I. Like for example, even when I stopped believing in religion, and when I say religion, I mean the rituals of religion, and I stopped going to church, I didn't do it on the quiet. I had many friends who used to tell their parents that they were going to church and they would go to the movies. And they would come back from the movies and tell the parents they'd been to church, which was fine, but there was something that was broken between those children and their parents, Whereas when I told my parents I did not believe in going to a building built by man in order to find God and blah blah blah, when I gave them my big theories or philosophies as a teenager, of course they got shocked. They were shocked, they were upset, they were angry. Not so much angry, but yes, there were hot words exchanged. We screamed and shouted at each other. But that kept us together because we kept communicating. They knew why I wasn't going, and I was telling them why. And that's the kind of relationship I had. When I grew my hair in the 70s, I grew my beard. It was the time of the hippies, and I did a lot of things that people didn't normally do, and especially people of my parents' generation would not really approve, like faded jeans and old T-shirts. My father loved his trousers well pressed with the V. It's called the V with the
Sharp crease.
Yeah, with the sharp crease in the front and in the back. But those are the things that kept us together, because we talked about them, we argued about them. That's what kept us together.
That actually is fantastic, because I could relate to it a lot purely because I had a similar background. And I said, maybe our lives have become really good. They all reduced to a nice state because of this original base. But now let's go on to your trips after that. As you grew up, you came to Bombay and took architecture at the JJ College, correct?
Yes, that's right.
And while you were there, how did you like Bombay?
To tell you how I liked or didn't like Bombay, I have to describe the Goa of that place, of that time. Goa was a clean, orderly, beautiful little state where even the cities didn't know any garbage. People could park their cars and leave them overnight with the keys in the ignition if they forgot them. The windows rolled down. There was no thought of robbery. There was no robbery, hardly any robbery. No grills on windows. Nobody had grills on windows. And when I came to Bombay, besides being a culture shock, it was a shock to the nose, to all senses, you know. So I'm not putting down Bombay, but I'm just telling you as it is. And I hated it. I hated it, and I wanted to run back every long weekend, and that's what I kept doing. Every long weekend I used to elongate it a little more by bunking, you know, college for a few days and rush back to Goa. And then there started to be times when I started to enjoy all these things about Bombay, you know. I started to realize that behind all that garbage and all that filth in the smallest of slum dwelling, there was enterprise, there was that optimism, there was some industry going on, you know, whether it was building something out of scrap iron, you know, that they found somewhere, you throw it out. Bombay had a go-getter kind of attitude which just wasn't there in Goa or in any other city that I'd seen in India till then. And I started to appreciate the other things about Bombay, and but I still used to rush to go all the time.